Mountains. My feet demanded that I instantly stop. My head was spinning with thoughts of dread, but I still persevered. I'd been through too much to falter now. I am the descendant of Vikings. I am the bloodline of fishermen who braved the odds in tiny wooden boats. I drank the last of my water and recalled my grandfather's stories of daring raids behind enemy lines. It was an unbelievable sight peering over the precipice, and as I stood there regaining my breath, I could see the snow-tipped mountains carefully dusted by the great gods. Few trees braved the steep slopes, and one lone path trundled up the side. To the left of that, a frozen lake lay stagnant, surrounded by soft feathery snow, where a brave bird fluttered down, leaving a deep impression. I felt a cold breeze down my neck, so I turned to see my best friend Eric looking over my shoulder at the view. We had played together since we were able to walk. Both our mothers had died in the last raid on England. Since then we had been inseparable. I didn't see you today in class, he spoke with apprehension. I figured you would be up here. Yeah, I woke up today and I felt a strong call to the mountains, more powerful than ever. Every ounce of my body did what my heart wanted instead of my brain. He placed an arm around my shoulder and guided me away from the edge, back onto the path. We walked in silence all the way, a quiet understanding clouding us. Once back in town, we headed to the bustling market to get some more seal blubber for curing the leather we got off the bull last week. My father had lent us his axe that day, and we got bored, so the bull that graced the fields around town suffered. So where do you think you'll go this summer when we go to England? Eric asked me, already knowing the answer. You know, the first thing to do will be trying to make new friends. I'd always been a social person, and whenever a new person moved into the village, I was always the first person to greet them. Eric was a shy, awkward boy who very rarely spoke up, but around me he would never stop talking. The last raid on Britain was being planned, and they were recruiting new warriors to take. Many weapons were to be made by the blacksmiths, so much so that they were never free to help you get any new weapons. And the whole town had been buzzing with excitement. The land around our town was very infertile, and few Vikings had ever been overseas to test the soil. There had been a few food shortages recently, and the only food available was meat that we had caught and slaughtered, which on the plus side meant that we had acquired a lot of valuable leather. I'm going to miss you when you leave. The town will be so quiet when you aren't there to toot your own horn. I punched his shoulder in jest. My father, who was taking part in the raid, was taking me with him, so that after we had won, we would settle in England and become part of the small community of Vikings living there. I was going to miss this place, almost as much as Eric. What have you kids been doing? I haven't seen you this morning, Alpa. Eric's father had sneaked up behind us and gave us a fright when his voice boomed down from his gaping mouth. I didn't feel well this morning, so I walked up to the mountains to get some peace and quiet. The cold air gave me a fresh head. Well, at least you're feeling better, he said before striding off towards his friend to see if there any more plans had developed for the farm he was hoping to build. We walked on for a little bit, nearing the edge of town where the walls were kept when not in service. We came here a lot when we didn't know what to do. The wolves rarely get fed a proper meal, so we quite often give the bits here and there from our dinner if we didn't finish. All of a sudden, snow started falling softly to the ground, settling on the heavy already snowy field, so we swiftly made our way back to my house. The fire was raging in the stove, where a big pot of fish stew was bubbling. A horn was placed carefully over the mantel, father's prized possession, stolen from a Welsh monk a couple years back, and the stairs up to my bedroom creaked softly as we galloped, slamming the door behind us. At my desk were plans for a more efficient weapon, the sword, a single duck's feather I had saved from last night's supper, which I intended to use to make a new writing device that would be much better than etching things into a whale's bone or wood. Eric collapsed on my bed, which I had covered in multiple furs and blankets in the hope that I might stay warm this winter. The cold air came in draughts, and my feet were already turning to ice just standing, so I jumped up into my chair. So what's your next genius invention then? Well, I did draw this, I said, whilst pushing a piece of paper towards him. I came up with it the other day when my dad sent me to my room for trying to persuade him to take you with us to England. In my anger, I had drawn something impossible to make. This looks incredible. How did you come up with this? I whispered into his ear. Nobody else will ever know.